You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Park Rangers, Locked On Coogs, here talking about Big 12 recruiting issues. And it looks like there may be some tampering happening out of BYU. So what I want to do is outline kind of the crux of the issue really quickly. And then, frankly, for more details on the issue, I know that both Locked On Oklahoma State and Locked On BYU are going to be talking about this as well. And so I can send you to my brethren over there for that. But I'm worried this can happen in Houston. And so what happened, in a nutshell, is that apparently there's some BYU kid, Harrison Taggart, whose buddy was with, at this point, a former Oklahoma State defensive tackle, Justin Kirkland. Kirkland is from West Haven, Utah, which, in doing some quick Google mapping, is on the northern side of Salt Lake City. Harrison Taggart, the linebacker at BYU that is buddies with this guy, is from Draper, which is on the southeast side of Salt Lake City, across the city from one another. But apparently they're tight, and apparently there's several guys in the state of Utah that are tight with Kirkland, the Oklahoma State defensive tackle. They were seen taking a bunch of pictures after the two played each other this year and whatever. And it sounds like, kind of very suddenly, Oklahoma State defensive tackle Justin Kirkland jumped in the transfer portal and very quickly committed to BYU and very quickly signed with BYU, all shortly after a BYU set of coaches traveled to Stillwater, Oklahoma to recruit a high school kid at Stillwater High School. And there was some skepticism from Oklahoma State faithful as to how many schools and what level of schools those coaches stopped at while they were in town. And I'm not here to tell you that I have a whole lot. Again, Cody at Locked On Oklahoma State and Jake at Locked On BYU are going to cover this and that respective storyline for both schools much more thoroughly. I will say that JT Wistersill has been on, beating the horse on this one about how they did this to Utah as well. Pulled in a Utah Lavasala, the defensive tackle as well. First of all, those are two good defensive tackles. That's going to be a really good defensive line at BYU with both of them. But much like BYU has these connections because Utah kids spread out across the country to play football, Houston has a bunch of high school kids where conceivably other coaching staffs are going to be in the city recruiting those high school kids. There's a lot of them that are really good. I worry that this is the kind of thing that Houston, as a program in a big city with a ton of talent, could fall susceptible to. Look, everyone wants kids from Houston on their program, period. Basketball, football, whatever, right? And as you look at that, these circles of who knows who and who plays against, I know so-and-so, my brother was on their brother's AAU team, or, we went to open gym together here. We played Little League there. I know you from that one summer of this and that. Like, those circles are increasingly small, and a world where recruiting is increasingly national, right? And I worry, after reading stories about this BYU Oklahoma State thing, with whatever validity there is to it, it could all be hogwash by the end. It's usually a smoke, there's fire kind of thing with these deals, but whatever, right? The way that plays out, where the BYU staff goes to Stillwater to recruit a high school kid and may or may not have contacted a Division I football player at Oklahoma State that they had a player that was friends with or whatever, honestly worries me, because there will be Big 12 staffs, there will be SEC staffs, there will be Big 10 staffs, there will be every type of staff in America in Greater Houston looking at Houston kids in football and basketball. What's going to keep them from, what NCAA rules are going to be, what's the guidelines going to be, what is the protocol going to be to investigate if it happens where one of those staffs talks to a Houston Cougar player. I think this is a real problem for Houston in a way that, frankly, I would have thought it'd be a much bigger problem for Houston than Oklahoma State. Stillwater's not very big. There's decent football in Oklahoma. I don't mean to say that there's no football being played in Stillwater or anything like that, but it's not Houston. Certainly it's not Houston. And we've talked, and I go back and forth, Big 12 squad guys often. If you tune in those every week, first of all, you should. They're a ton of fun. But I've talked with them about how like Houston is unique in this, and like the new wave of schools that your mark is adding are unique in this, that they're big cities, right? They're not these small college towns. Cincinnati's bigger, Orlando's bigger, Houston is bigger. Boulder's outside of Denver. And that's the conversation we had about Sacramento State a couple times this week. Sacramento's a bigger market, right? And so I worry about this kind of thing happening just in general in the way that college sports work now, when there's no sit out for transfers and all those kinds of things. I think that you open yourselves up to these kinds of things. But also, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on how the BYU situation unfolds, because if there's validity to this claim, it's a case study for what happens if this happens to Houston. And so that's, I think, why I think it should be on your radar. That's certainly why it's on my radar. It's also within the conference. And so, like, Houston's going to have to play both of these schools in this instance as far as, who's coming, who's going. I don't guess technically this fall, but that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about this fall when we get there. And so I worry as the college football landscape, the college sport landscape continues to change in a way that, the basketball program has kind of insulated itself from with such a strong culture. They take one or two transfers a year, not a lot. They don't lose a lot either. They've lost, I think, since this show has been going on, they've lost, 3 total rotational players. And that's if you call Damian Dunn a rotational player. He kind of worked his way in and out throughout the year, but I don't know. This is concerning to me in a way that I want to make sure it's on everyone's radar, because when I bring it up randomly at a later point, because there's more decisions made in it that'll make more sense. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the Houston Cougar baseball program has an important series this weekend against Utah. It feels like a must-win series, and it's bordering on a must-sweep series, just with the way the schedules are shaken out and how the standings are in the Big 12. So make sure you check out all the different, if you want, Cougar Beat covers baseball on X/Twitter. The account does a pretty good job, the social media accounts and handles for UH Cougar baseball, as far as putting out stuff. If you can't watch the game on ESPN Plus or whatever, it's a big weekend for the baseball program, so make sure you check them out over there. I'll be following it as well. And then on Monday, if there's news to be broken on that, we'll be breaking. If there's news to be broken on Mike Econom, we'll be talking about that. If there's, I'm trying to get someone that's more of an expert in the women's side of the transfer portal, because there was like 1,500 names in there at one point. And so I want someone to come on and help me dissect through what else going on there. But Houston's getting a few commits for Coach Mitchell in his first season coming up on that side. All kinds of fun stuff happening with the Houston Cougars each and every day. So we're going to go break it down. Locked On Cougs, a primary Locked On podcast network that means your team every day. Go Cougs.